Hello everyone and welcome to this very special live video version of Casual Watch Talk podcast. So we'll be doing a video version which will be uploaded to the Casual Watch Reviewer YouTube channel, and then also an audio version that will be uploaded through your regular podcasting apps. This is a special version that we're doing because a couple of members over on the Facebook group for Casual Watch Talk have been conducting a 30-day one watch challenge. This is where we wore one watch solidly for 30 days. I'd just like to introduce some of the contenders that we had today for the 30-day watch challenge. So thank you all for joining me. So Chris, would you like to kick it off? Would you like to introduce yourself and then what watch you wore for 30 days?
So my one watch challenge was done with my Bell & Ross GMT V2 93 GMT. We've seen it on the Facebook. It's my everyday watch. It's sort of like a watch that I bought myself when I got my last job, sort of big promotion watch. That's what I brought to the table. Now we'll see how it pans out. But certainly for me, it made me consider my collection, and not only that, but actually give some watches away from my collection. So it'd be certainly interesting to talk about all of that.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. TJ, would you like to introduce yourself and what watch you were wearing for the last 30 days?
Awesome. So yeah, I'm TJ. I tend to post on the page for aviation-related matters, and so no surprise that I chose an aviation watch. I went a little on a different side of the cost spectrum from Chris's choice. So it was a Marathon Navigator for me, about $300 quartz. I think everyone knows I tend to favor value and attention to detail and design for functionality. So I think this really hit it. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot doing it, and some things I didn't expect to realize really made me reevaluate a lot of things. So I'm looking forward to sharing that.
Michael, we'd love to hear about what watch you've been wearing for the last 30 days.
Did the South Baltimore diver. Main thing I learned, I think, is that I eat out too much. And watch can handle dinner very, very well. No problem taking it out for a meal.
Oh, awesome. Lee, I'd love to hear what watch you wore for the last 30 days.
Oh, boy. Okay. My name is Lee. I wore this Pagani design GMT Crime Against Humanity.
Looks great on the bracelet, by the way. That's looking good.
For those listening and not looking, the bracelet is held together by safety pins and electrical tape. The watch lost multiple minutes every day. It has been a fascinating experience these last 30 days. Can't say it's been all bad, but it certainly hasn't been all good.
Well, we can't wait to hear more about it. And then finally, Todd. Todd, what watch have you been wearing for the last 30 days?
I've been wearing this one for the last 30 minutes. A 1973 6138 TAC 0011 UFO, otherwise known in the Seiko slang of one of their chronographs. And I did not participate. I'm the conscientious objector to this ludicrous experiment that beguiles humanity's purpose on the face of the earth.
Oh, goodness.
Right then. Well, I mean, I don't know how I can follow that really, but I've been wearing my Breitling B1, which is a vintage aviation quartz watch from 1997, and I really just love it even more after my 30 days with it. It has been difficult for me because I had a lot of watches in for review as well that I had to quickly wear, take a few photographs, and then so I probably cheated a little bit, but it was all for the good of the viewers of the Casual Watch Review channel. So that's been a great intro. So why don't we delve into a little bit more, because I know there's some really good stories. So Chris, do you want to kick it off with yours first?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll kick it off also with I sort of want to know from the group, what couldn't you do with the watch? So for me, and I see from the group here, it seems like a lot of this, the stuff that we brought here, tool watch category, certainly not going to, not going to be 30-day dress watch, not going to be, maybe bashing about a vintage Seiko. So I kind of want to know, like, what couldn't you do with your watch? And, sort of did that affect your decision? And for me, I'm if I can't, like, this thing went couple showers, mow the lawn, yard work. I was working. I wasn't doing any mechanical work. I was doing some light fabrication on the rally car, and I wasn't afraid. But certainly, keeping an eye on it when you're in the garage. And then any sort of reciprocating power tools was the only time I would take it off, because there's no need to smash the jewel back and forth with anything like that. But certainly, it has to, for me, always, it's got to be waterproof, screw down crown, sapphire. I mean, there's like a list of stuff for me that just kind of hits what an everyday watch is. And this definitely sharpened that. And it's, it's going to be you're going to be running in and out of the garage, that sort of thing. So I'm curious to know, like, how much was too much. So for me was heavy power tool usage, but for everyone else, that's what I'm kind of curious about.
So I chose one that I wouldn't be afraid of with power tools and such. But for my can't moment came when, and I was weak and I didn't at that moment. But my can't moment was a September 11th commemoration ceremony where it was in a more formal attire, and I did other things after that were more formal, where it didn't matter, and I wore this, and I was a little shy about it, and it wouldn't be my first pick normally for a dressier occasion, but no one blinked an eye about it. I think people become so much more tolerant for what you're wearing, but for that ceremony, I just had to max dignify the occasion, and so I just couldn't do it. But I think that taught me that I'm really not a one watch person. If your idea of the coolest watch you love, which is this, is something like this, you better have something for the wedding and the funerals and things like that, where it's just not appropriate to walk around with a black NATO and a plastic watch. And otherwise, but I'm willing to push the edge of what I am willing to wear this to a lot more now. So short of tuxedo or something very dignified, just because it's dressy doesn't mean I'm not wearing it. But really, if you want to go out for a classy night out, even on a date night, I'll probably go ahead and shelf this and get something a little nicer. You got to look handsome and stuff for the lady. So that's what I took out of it.
Well, I can confidently say that I had no qualms about doing literally everything with the Pagani. I'm a greenskeeper at a golf course, so this thing did manual labor with me for a month. We did oil changes on a couple of tractors. I had this thing on my wrist. I was waist deep in a pond. And it really wasn't until the month started to wind out that the bracelet started falling apart, that like the bezel got really loose, that at that point I started being a little bit more gentle with it, but I also knew that I was getting close and kind of didn't care. But it was fun. It was fun to have a watch that I could legitimately do anything with: sleep in, shower in, anything.
How much did you pay for that Pagani design? Have you won the competition for the most affordable of the watches?
This thing was $85, which I figure not bad. Sapphire crystal, screw down crown, 100 meters water resistant. I have the Coke version. The Batman and the all black are ceramic bezels. Coke and Pepsi are aluminum. Unfortunately, I wanted the ceramic, would have gotten the Batman otherwise, but so it got a little scratched up, a little dinged up. But I got what I paid for.
Yeah, and the Pagani design, for anybody that's listening to this, is a homage to the Submariner, is it? Or is it the Deep Sea? This
is the GMT Master.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's a GMT for...
It is a GMT, which having a GMT function, first time I've ever had that, and it was great. I loved having that function.
Is it a quartz then? Or
it's not, no.
Oh, wow.
No, it is a Chinese... Pearl is the name of the company, their GMT movement, and it is, as I understand, completely untested and untried, And if you get a good one or a bad one, is totally.
So is this brand gonna latch onto this challenge as like for their new advertising campaign, like 30 days almost?
Yeah, perfect for your 22-day watch challenge.
Exactly.
So, Michael, was there anything that you couldn't do with your watch?
No, it just rubbed it in my face that I don't do anything. It's water resistant and I guess shock resistant and all this. I wasn't doing anything to test it, so it made me think I need to get off my ass and live a life worthy of a tough watch.
Nice. It was definitely, you were showing off your sedentary lifestyle. We were all jealous. And it is funny too, because like you'll look at like some of the complications, like the GMT is a perfect example. Now, for IT work, I definitely use it for, you know, figuring out like what time zone logs are in and what time zone computers are in and stuff, and sort of backtracking like, okay, what time is it here kind of thing. But like not for travel, not for like going anywhere, not for fun, you know, that sort of stuff. So like, yeah, it definitely made me feel like, oh, I could move the bezel and be in Tahiti right now. Oh, well.
And it works really well because of the time change. It has an alarm that would literally wake the dead. Like it's unbelievably loud, the alarm. So if you set it, you're definitely getting up. And it does have a second time zone that you can set another alarm to that time zone as well. So you could, in theory, have it showing the two time zones if you wanted to, but it's so easy to change the hour. The hands back, you just rotate it twice. You don't have to pull the full crown out and move the hands yourself. You move the analog bit, and then the hands mechanically move round, which is really good. But it is a quartz, so it has those little luxuries that you get with quartz, like an alarm, I suppose.
Yeah. It looks like we have another joining. Looks like Steven is here.
Here, I snuck in on you guys.
All right.
Hey.
I didn't do it, and that maybe I'm too chicken. Maybe that's part of it. Is that I didn't think I could actually get away with doing it. If I did, I would probably do it with the G-Shock, honestly. And strangely enough, just because it's so practical, I feel like you want something lightweight and easy and water resistant. That's probably the biggest thing. If I was going to do it with one, I think I could do it with the G-Shock. But yeah, I've just got too many watches to wear and just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't think I could do it. And honestly, I just didn't want to do it because I just, variety is the spice of life. Why limit yourself to eating the same thing every day if you don't have to? So
I think Todd had a very similar.
It's exactly the same. And in fact, I think that if you have a lot of watches, then this one watch for 30 days is like child neglect. I think that it is an offense that should be prosecuted potentially because those other watches are sitting there. They're like, what are you doing? You're not loving me. You're not feeding me. You're not winding me. Oh, my oils are getting caked together on the pinions because you're not wearing me. So that's how I took it. They were talking to me and wait, should I say that? No, they don't talk to me. I'm sorry. No, that's just my private thing. But no, I didn't. Same thing though. I have so many. I switch like twice, 3 times a day, depending on what I'm doing. I do triathlon training in the mornings too, and so I have a GPS watch that swims and runs and bikes, and I keep track of everything on my iPhone app. And so I would have had to wear that, but it's kind of this big, I should have brought it with me. It's kind of this big gaudy thing. It's a Garmin. It's a nice watch, but I wouldn't all the time. Anyway, I guess I could have, like you said, the G-Shock would have been another great example, but there's just too much variety in life. Life is to be enjoyed. So, that's why we have oregano. Oregano is there so we enjoy life. It doesn't serve any other purpose. So the same thing with, if you have multiple watches, you should wear them. That's my objection, and that's why I dissented.
I think you have it. I certainly, when I finished it up, everyone was sort of talking about, I think TJ posted like what watch are you going to next? Like what's the one you're going to immediately grab? And probably day like 18, 19, I was like, I don't need another watch. I'm fine. And I couldn't hear the like screams from the watch box that apparently haunt you, Todd. But so I couldn't, and then I was like, yeah. And then like day 25, and then it was like that weekend was coming, the weekend, and it was like the watch was up that weekend. And I was like, Yeah, so I'm going to be immediately grabbing a white dial Zen 104 because I haven't seen it in 30 days, and it is an amazing watch, and it has to go on my wrist, and I'm going to go to the lake, and for that definitely cemented the spice of life comment, which is life is just too short for one watch. Like, so at the same time, it also sort of calibrated, for me, it calibrated: am I a connoisseur? Am I a collector? And like, where am I on that journey? And do I need more of the do I need every one of this certain one, or this sort of thing? And it ultimately it led me to look at a couple of the watches in my watch box that weren't getting any attention, and I ended up giving them away to a friend, which is great, feels great. They were just starting to get on their watch journey, and a Hamilton khaki is like a first starter, standard issue. Like, if anyone's getting involved in this, crazy hobby, or if someone that like would appreciate a mechanical watch, I mean, that is just that's just sort of a no-brainer, easy, affordable, but amazing Swiss watch that, get them going on that. So, no more Seiko Diver, and I used to have a Seiko Turtle and gave that away, and the Khaki King is out of the collection. So now it's just down to the core.
So that's a good question, isn't it, Chris, for everyone? What watch did you go to immediately after?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I'll say I did not immediately go to anything, and that shocked me. I couldn't decide among the others, but so I think maybe I developed a mindset and recognize it that's opposite of the variety of the spice of life approach, which is more of I'm looking for the watch that's my favorite. I'm looking for a watch that I never want to take off. And if I have two watches that both are in the same category, like dressy or pilot or whatever, I want to zero in on the very best one. And at that point, then I don't want to wear the other one because this one's the best. And so I think for me, this turned into probably a future of a 2-watch guy, or probably 3, right? Because I scuba dive, and so I definitely want a dive watch, but I don't wear those as my passion. But for pilot watches, I want one that's like I would take to the cockpit today, and then I want one that's more dressy, that's more a nod to history, and so on. And to me, I haven't found necessarily the ideal one of that yet. So that's something I'm excited to find. But I guess I'm just getting more and more picky. Like the slightest detail now, I'm aware of it, and I get more condemned design choices more and more frequently. And so I'm just really looking for perfection, and so I'm not looking for variety. I'm looking for perfection. So that's a different way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like appreciating what you have, which again, it goes with that too, which is
because I used to just go in these spurts where I would wear a watch for several weeks, and then you pick up the other one that you haven't looked at, and it looks different now because you haven't seen it every day. And so for a while I was doing that, but this just sort of I finished these 30 days like I love this. I'm not sick of it, and I don't want anything else. And I looked at all the others, and I said I don't want any of these. I want the one I'm wearing right now, and that felt great.
That's cool. Let's hear from maybe Lee. Lee, what'd you go for after the Pagani?
I could not get this off my wrist fast enough.
Was that because the safety pin went through the skin, or?
Yeah.
It didn't help. Didn't help any. I went to my favorite of my watches, my Speedmaster Automatic. It's a classic. It's a Valjuice 7750. It's standard dial layout with the date window. It's a comfortable place for me. It's comfort food in watch form. It's the watch I love the most, and it's barely been off my wrist since.
Okay. And would you work with the Speedmaster?
No, Speedmaster I don't take to work. I usually wear a dive watch at work.
Okay.
I get too wet too often to trust a Speedmaster.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, did you go for another? What did you go to after your 30 days?
I think it wasn't taking it off. First thing I did was put my smartwatch back on.
Oh.
Notifications. I needed my notifications back, so I went back to the Schwarzkopf digital
nice.
and analog, but I did put my little cheapy Ferrari
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
no,
like
nice.
that one. That's pretty good. So I did put a little variety with that one too. But I really missed the notifications. I didn't want to grab for my phone every time, but you have to if you only have a mechanical watch.
We talked about it on the podcast, but I wore the Walbrook that Chris kindly changed the movement on. So I was been wearing that for a bit. I wore it on a Tropic strap. I got sent, I'll do a review of it because it's an interesting story. I got sent an actual Tropic strap from Synchron, who make the ISOFrame straps. They own the trademark to Tropic. So I've been wearing it on that, but I'll have to do a review because it is different than... They apparently they designed it based on the original Tropic strap. It is a lot different than some of the other Tropic style straps that I've worn before. So that was the Walbrook, and then I had to do a bit of time with the Nuvea that I've been reviewing. I got quite a few micro brands sent in. It seems to be a bumper season for micro brands at the moment, so I've been having to give them a little equal wrist time to wear them for reviews.
I'm curious to know from maybe Stephen and Todd, talking about watch collection size. I think I'm down below 7 now. I think I'm down like 6. Obviously there are the watches, that I almost don't count. And Sam and I talked about it in this pod a bunch of times, the watch you get married in, or the like watch from the grandfather or something that's just, that's just like off the table. But as far as like the watches in the box that could come and go, I probably am down to like 6 or 7. Curious to know what everybody's collection size is, and to start with the folks that couldn't stick with one and enjoy collecting.
So, gosh, how many do I have? I think I have about 30. Yeah, there's more than that. So about 24 vintage Seiko chronographs that are with me now. There's a couple that are at a restorer still, and I cycle them through when I pick them off eBay and stuff. They go through cycle. I'm looking at my watch bench. I got 4 on that. I'm not counting those. Those are future restorations. Mm-hmm. I've got my Turtles and my Speedy and my Hamiltons and stuff like that. So it's probably like 30, 35, maybe somewhere in that realm. So
now, do you find that, so for your Seiko collection, do you find that if you have an example of something that maybe is if you could find one that was like in a better condition for a particular model, would that fill in and you would maybe let the other one go? Is that the kind of type or a collection?
Right. So that's what I would do. So if I get a model that's the same as one I have, which I usually don't try to do that, but I just did it recently because I thought I was going to use it for a parts watch. But when it came in, it was so nice. Yeah. But I'm like, I can't do this. This is too nice of a watch. So I'll probably sell that one and probably make a few dollars on it too. Yeah. But I'll sell that one, and then that'll turn over into a restoration cost.
Interesting. And how about Stephen?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first started collecting, I started collecting vintage Seiko. That's really how I got into this. And, it's super accessible. Obviously, I feel like we've talked this to death already on this channel numerous times. But I think when I first started, I was probably like trying to just get quantity over quality. And so I think the biggest my collection ever was maybe about 30 or 40 pieces. And earlier this year, it was up to 20. And I got it down to about 10. And I started buying again. In fact, I just bought one. I just got another watch today, unfortunately. So now I'm up to about 15. Where I would ideally like to be, I would love to be a 3-watch person like TJ. That's my dream, but that's not my reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's very admirable. I mean, I think that it's great if you can cut it down. It's extremely easy to acquire a large collection. It's extremely difficult to pare that collection down to a very small number of pieces and know this is what I own, and I'm not going to buy anything else. But I think part of it for me is that it's a hobby, and so I like to buy and sell. I like to constantly get new stuff in and try new things out. And so, for me, I always have kind of a big collection.
Something it keyed in something that I don't think I mentioned on the channel, and maybe I'll do a little show and tell here. But this is where I feel like I'm halfway in between. I want to be just like you said. You want to be like a 3-watch guy, but like it's hard. And as the difference between collector and connoisseur.
Did he get today?
First Omega in space. I don't know if you guys can see that, but
So I have a fascination with early Bell and Ross that were manufactured by Zinn, and I managed to acquire one, and then on a whim and sort of by luck, I managed to acquire 2 of them. And so then there's this advertisement from the 90s that I actually framed. So this advertisement is just, it's got helmets in, hanging out, the space shuttle, it was the Zinn first chronograph in space, second chronograph in space, automatic chronograph in space. But one of the things that it has is I managed to get 2 of the watches on here. So I have like the 103 and the 144. It's definitely one of those things where if they were to come up, I would be the collector. There's a couple on that list that if I could find in really good condition, then I just have to like go for it and forget the whole like 3-watch thing and just be a collector. So I feel you guys, Todd, and the folks that that collect. So deep down, I think we'd all like to be just a 3-watch person, but
I'm not there yet either. By the way, I'm at 6. But,
6.
And I feel it's too many. No kidding. There's a couple of them I don't wear at all. One of them's kind of set aside for my youngest son. My Speed Master is set aside for the oldest, but that's what I do wear when I'm dressed up. But yeah, I can really pare it down. I'm still looking for something along the lines of those Zinns and Bell and Rosses of the vintage you described, Chris. I mean, there's just 60s and 70s era, or those kind of some military issue pilot watches by compacts with a lapse time bezel like Leonidas and from the 60s and 70s. That's the look I'm looking for. Maybe Damasco's in something like that. So I still think there's a great $2,000 tool watch in my future at some point. And maybe it's tied into retirement or something like that. So I still have that sense of searching, which is exciting because the Speed Master is my son's already. It's not really mine. So clearly I need something. I guess if I ended up being satisfied and, okay, I got my 3 watches, I'm good, it would almost be slightly disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I don't know. Actually, no, I don't think so. I think it'd be magical. And I would just look at it all the time and be super happy. But that's not true.
That's right. No, that's not. You just described not life. That's not
right.
Life.
Yeah,
not the life of a watch collector. No, I suppose. I think what would be really interesting is there any interesting stories about the people that did the 30-day watch challenge, or something about the watch that surprised you, or like an interesting story? I'm sure, like Lee, you've definitely got one. I'm sure with your Pagani.
Yeah, I had a lot of interesting experiences with this watch. I because it was losing about 2.5 minutes a day, I took it to a watchsmith that I've used a few times, and he was unimpressed. Thought he was going to throw me out on my he took the back off and just like put his head in his hands. I felt bad bringing this to him. It felt like I was offending him with this watch. The bracelet falling apart, just like pulling my sleeve up, and the bracelet just falls on the ground.
It was the actual like pins in the bracelet, nothing to do with the like.
Yeah, the end link. It's solid links. So the end link, if you can see, the end link is there and fine. It's the link between the end link and the bracelet that the pins came apart on both sides. I'm going to say a design flaw.
So did they wear down then? Did the pins wear down, or how did they fail?
They felt poorly manufactured, honestly. They fit into the groove, just it wasn't snug. It clearly seemed like so I've been on a few different Pagani forums and whatnot to try and get support and the like, and the watch that I have is referred to as a Friday afternoon watch. Everything that could go wrong did. Bezel bounces, bracelet disintegrated. It's a common enough problem that they they have names for it.
So, Michael, did you have any interesting stories with your watch or anything you noticed during the 30 days?
What was funny for me was that somebody before it started turned me on to one of those apps where you check how slow or fast your watch is. So I was checking that, and I was really into it, and it was about, I think, 11 seconds fast or something like that. So I had these numbers in my brain about how it was just a little bit off, little bit off, little bit off. And then eventually it was like 5 minutes fast. So that was sort of the joke in my head, was that it's not that the watch is too fast, is that now I have 5 minutes set ahead, so I'm never late. Where it really got funny was that towards the end of the month, I was thinking these numbers, okay, it's just 5 minutes fast. Somebody said the time, and I looked at my watch, and they said, for example, they said like, oh, it's 4 p.m. And I looked at my watch and I was like, it's not 4 p.m. It's like 1 p.m. It turned out my watch had died, and I never had even realized. So it didn't matter that it was 5 minutes fast, 2 minutes fast, because I had set it down and I don't do anything. And then the watch was just completely, totally off. It was hours and hours wrong time. So I was like, mechanical watch.
I noticed that in the middle of the night, I can find the toilet with this tritium lume. No kidding, just kind of looking over at your own wrist in the middle of the night, there's a little glowing spot in the middle of the bed. So it's probably not good for me.
Getting, couple rads, it's fine.
I always resisted a 12-hour bezel, thinking that, it'd be confusing, but I love it. And I used it we get weather briefings are always in Zulu time or GMT UTC time. And so you have to sit there, convert, because tropical storm force winds will hit your area at this time. You're like, oh, that's really helpful. So I actually found that super handy, and I was really glad I was wearing it during that last tropical storm and the one before it. So it's very, very useful. It's a lot different for me than I think I actually wouldn't respond well to a traditional GMT watch where it just says current time in this other time zone is X, where I like the conversion scale because I'm getting a lot of briefings and things that are in future time. And I want to be able to look at a weather brief and see, are these thunderstorms going to develop during my flight or during my approaching my land time, that kind of thing. So I like the conversion scale aspect of the 12-hour bezel. An unexpected surprise for me, because I resisted 12-hour bezels for years, thinking that they'd be disorienting or confusing because it's not the full 24. And now it turns out it's better for me. So it's a win.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, my watch has a bezel on it, but it's a countdown, like a reverse countdown bezel, which I'd not had on a watch before. But with it being Breitling, it kind of goes in both directions because it has the measurement scale. So I tend to use the bezel a lot less, but then it does have a stopwatch on it also, which is good. Also, it does have a light that illuminates in the night. So that's really pretty cool that you can just press it and it comes on, which is handy when you're traveling, because especially when you're in like unfamiliar surroundings, you can just like scramble for your watch and then press it on. So that actually worked out quite well for me. So I don't know if I'm getting like a new fondness for quartz after being such a mechanical advocate for all of these years.
Yeah. For me, it's speaking of quartz accuracy, for me was the accuracy of like very important to me, and so I kept track of it. And this is the app that I was using. Michael had mentioned, we kind of talked about it, and I've got an average rate of 0.2, so it only gained about 20 seconds for the month. So it was very, very, it was very, very
0.5 here though, 0.5.
Oh, all right.
Probably right along those lines, right?
Sam was saying his was super accurate.
Yeah, this has got, it's not the super quartz with a thermocompensated in there, but for some reason it's just super accurate. Even if I check it now, it's not got atomic time sync or anything like that. It's really, it's the most accurate quartz I've had, which is amazing considering it's, from 1997. When everybody else was doing the 30-day watch challenge, the reason why you thought you couldn't do it, or was there something you thought about maybe doing it, but what kind of stopped you from doing it?
I mean, I just have a large collection. I like to wear lots of different watches, just depending on my mood. And And so I think for me, you know, do I think I could do it? Yes. But, you know, again, I would compare it to like eating the same food every single day for a month. If I had to eat rice every day for a month, I could. But do I want to eat rice every day for a month? No, I don't. So I think that's really what it came down to is I just, you know, I personally, I don't want to do it. I applaud everyone who does do it because I think it's a great thing. But I just have, you know, I have a lot of variety in my watch case and I want to wear something different every day. So that's really what it came down to for me.
Yeah, for me, I've done it before when I was 6 months in Cambodia. The only watch I wore was a Timex Ironman. That 6 months, and it was just because that was the most appropriate thing, and you didn't have to worry about it, and it worked. And then, you know, when I was younger, of course, I had my 1984 Seiko Sports 100 chronograph that I bought new in 1984 that I still have. That was my only watch all through college, and after that, you know, for years and years, it was like the only watch I wore. So, you know, I've been there, I've done that, and so there wasn't a lot of incentive for me to really kind of soul search and find, you know, what I was thinking and where I want to go. When there's so many vintage watches out there that it's screamed to have a home for someone, you know, with someone who loves and will care for them.
Yeah.
And so, because again, I'm, you know, my altruism is coming out again because I need the desire to do all this. And, you know, every time you see stuff on eBay, again, it's like, oh, I don't have that one, you know, and you start planning ahead.
And I have a follow-up question for Todd and Steven. With your vintage stuff or with maybe your different watches that you have in collection, do you find that you will wear, you know, what's appropriate? Like you're certainly not going to shower with the vintage Seiko, I would assume.
No.
Yeah.
I don't wear a watch in the shower, so that's not.
Yeah. Or, you know, or pool or lake or whatever.
Or wearing, or like if I'm out mowing the yard, you know, I'll wear the Garmin or I'll wear the G-Shock and that sort of thing, and then I'll come in and I'll switch it out. Sometimes I do what Michael does. I'll wear when I work from home, I'll wear the Garmin on my right wrist to keep track of the, you know, vitals and stuff, and I'll wear my whatever watch of the day I want to put on the left wrist. So I do the sports golf too.
I have a question for them though. This popped into my mind. You know how the fashion watch is sort of like the anti-watch, but thinking about you guys having so many watches and wanting to change them around, do you think that crosses back over to the fashion aspect of wanting to have a different looking watch and different colored watch? It sort of crosses back to fashion, right?
I
guess it does in some ways. That's an interesting point.
Well, I think for me as well, it's a mental disability or something like that. I mean, anyone who collects something has got to have some sort of a neurological issue, or it's some sort of a habit. And I come from a family of collectors. I mean, you can see behind me, I've got paintings of baseball cards on my wall. I've collected all sorts of things. And so I think for me, it's just a natural progression. Like, you know, I start off with one or two, probably just like everyone else. I had my one or two watches that I, you know, through college and, you know, when I first started my career. And then I slowly started to get into watches because I had a good friend who was living overseas, and he was actually buying and selling watches on eBay. And so he started telling me about, hey, I've got these watches for sale. And so that kind of piqued my curiosity. And so I started collecting more and more. And so I think for me, it was just a natural progression. But, you know, I'm interested in collecting a lot of different things, and I definitely do like that fashion aspect as well. I mean, I love art. I love, you know, beautiful looking things. And I think watches are an extension of that. So I think you're definitely onto something, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, I think, was not necessarily afraid of getting watches scratched. Sam sort of cheats because he's pre-scratched his Breitling.
Yes, it came scratched. It came pre-patinaed.
Do like a GoFundMe to get Justin's watch back together.
I'm sure I've got.
Because I mean, this is going to take some serious money.
Yeah, we'll get a razor wire for it. Get the razor wire strap.
Right. There you go. Yeah, a new strap would be good, but I feel like it's got a lot more problems to deal with.
I think on like day like 10 or whatever, when it was losing like a minute, and I was like, oh, you'll have to send it to me so I can regulate it, or at least attempt to look at it to see. And now I'm like, it's gonna be a massive effort, I think, to get that.
I'm going to send it to you with no return address. It's gonna be yours.
It's just right. It just shows up in the PO box. You're like, where's this from? Oh dear God. Oh dear God. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I think you should do a Viking funeral for it, perhaps. If you can't get it to work, I think you should do something for video and just send it up in flames, and blow some ceremonial horn, and
I do have a powerful wood chipper at work, so I'll see what I can come up with. I'll talk to the boss, see what kind of sense of humor he's got.
Yeah, well, our fake Seiko is going to meet a very horrible end at some point. So maybe the Pagani can meet that same end.
We get the test. We'll test the watch crusher with the Pagani first, and then we'll move on to the Seiko, the fake Seiko.
So, TJ, do you want to kick it off, like final, kind of the summary of the 30 days and any final thoughts you had after you've completed your 30-day watch challenge?
Yeah, I guess I'll say I just enjoyed doing it. I was not going to do it, and I just resisted it for a while in my head, and then I just embraced it. And it actually turned out to be easier and easier as I went along with it, which was interesting. I thought it'd be getting more difficult. But really, for me, it's just one of those exercises, and do something a little bit different, think a little bit different, gain a new perspective, because I think we can get in a rut and not appreciate things, or just it just kind of runs away on its own momentum. So every once in a while, an exercise like this just pulls the reins, makes you wake up and look at things afresh, and then you leave the experience a different person slightly with a new perspective. That's a huge win. So I'm just really happy I did it. I fell in triple love with the watch I chose, and I feel like I've got a better sense of where I want to go with my 3 to 6. I just feel like I'm more aware and more prepared to make good decisions for it in the future. So it helped me define and understand things that I was just sort of just doing on autopilot, but now I'm more deliberate. So I think that's a huge win. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, Michael, do you have any final thoughts after your 30-day challenge?
With me, I realized that I really am casual watch guy, and I do only have those 3 watches, and I think I can very easily enjoy watches from a distance, like seeing what you guys own, seeing them at the store, seeing them, and I don't necessarily have to like buy more and have more in the collection.
Watch appreciation.
It's good enough. Yeah.
For you.
Cool. Good.
Yeah. And I guess, Lee, any final thoughts from you on your summary of your eventful 30-day watch challenge?
Yeah, I definitely have a much deeper appreciation of quality, and that you really can't cut corners. That an $85 watch that has a sapphire crystal and a screw-down crown and a display case back is going to have some serious deficits in other places. And I mean, you really do get what you pay for in the world of mechanical watches. And yeah, my appreciation of a well-made watch has definitely been greatly improved.
Yeah, you did definitely took, for all of us who maybe picked our favorite out of our collection. It was fun. It was fun watching Lee and his sort of trials and tribulations.
I also definitely learned that you have to have a sense of humor with this. That it has to be fun. Right. And a big part of why I chose this watch was I knew that in worst case scenario, I was going to get some good stories out of it. I was going to laugh, and for the money, it's well worth 30 days of entertainment.
I guess Stephen first, and then Todd, if you had any final thoughts on, or how crazy you think we were for doing the 30-day watch challenge, or any words of wisdom for any of the viewers and listeners.
So if you're familiar with the master classes that you can see advertised, I'm a engineer physics guy, and so Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's one of my favorite physicist. He teaches a master's class on thinking, and he says his summation of it is that there's personal truths, there's political truths, and there's absolute truths. And I think it's clear from this discussion today that we have seen the absolute truth that a single watch for 30 days is not natural. it's not what nature intended for us to do. So I feel reinforced with that thing.
I think it's a very admirable thing. I mean, I think it's awesome. I mentioned before, I feel like I'm kind of a chicken, because I have a big collection. I don't want to do it. Do I think I could do it? Yeah, but I think it would be challenging for me. And I do think it's very admirable, and I get the feeling from TJ and Michael and Lee that they really learned something about, not just about what they like, but maybe also about themselves at the same time. And I think that's a really great thing. Be happy with what you have. Maybe that's the moral of the story here is we shouldn't take things for granted. And so I think that's a great takeaway from this. So I think it was a great idea, and I think other ideas would be fantastic. Other challenges of some way or some sort. So I welcome it.
Interesting. Cool.
Now you need the 30 watch a month challenge.
That one I can do, no problem.
Yeah, right. Get the collection ready.
Todd and I could do that, no problem.
Yeah, we'll do that one. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. I think for me, you sort of hit that, Stephen, with, if as far as an exercise, if you have any questions sort of about who you are as a collector or a connoisseur, that's sort of like answering that question, this definitely gets your mindset. I was certainly struggling when, and we've talked about it on the pod, where we're in quarantine and, we're just making poor decisions. Like we're pulling up Amazon and we're making horrible decisions, period, let alone with buying watches and other things. And it definitely helped to sort of sharpen that up and say, like, what's important, what's not important, what watches are, that can stay in the collection, what watches sort of represent me as a person, and that I enjoy having on my wrist. So definitely encourage it for those maybe just starting out, or, don't know if you are that collector or that connoisseur, or still sort of getting your way. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'd second that. I think wearing the one watch for 30 days made me kind of appreciate the watch, and also kind of got me a little bit out of the cycle of obsessing over the next watch that I was going to buy. And it made me think a lot about where I wanted to go next in the collection. I've got a big-ish birthday coming up, and I keep toying with the idea of needing a watch for that, to celebrate that. But now I think I'm going to definitely have a longer think about it, because this old Breitling, which really stole my heart, which is totally different than anything else I've really ever owned. I've quite enjoyed wearing it, so it's been a lot of fun. So a big thank you to everyone from the Casual Watch Talk Facebook group that took part in our 30-day watch challenge. Although Chris and I didn't invent it, we do have to say that. I think it was another watch YouTuber, but we've definitely stolen the idea.
Yeah, the Watch Fast or the Random Rob had it for the 30-day challenge. So lots of guys have talked about it. We took it up. We took the challenge.
Thank you for everyone. If you've got any comments, head on over to the Facebook group if you want to ask us any questions about the 30-day watch challenge. As always, we appreciate you listening and also watching for this special episode.